Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. I just wanted to talk about a few things today, and we're going to show the chicks while I'm talking so you can hear them and see them, because they are pretty cute when they're this small. So we might as well enjoy them while we can, because they're growing so quickly. Let's pick some of them out here. I want to give you an idea of who's who. The one with the longest tail, that's the one that was ailing. That's Utility, the one we named Utility. The one with the longest tail. I'll point them out as we go along. And interestingly enough, the one that had the dark color on the back of his head and neck, he was darker than the rest of them. He is now the runt of the litter, but he was also the bully. When I first brought them here, that was the one that was picking on the rest of them the most. And now he's the runt of the litter. I just realized that today. I looked them over, all of them, very carefully. 3 of them are about the same. Then you've got Utility, which is the biggest, and the biggest tail, biggest wings, the biggest bird. And the smallest one is, interestingly enough, the bully. Ends up being the runt, which is rather amazing to me. But now let's talk about raising these chicks like we are in an apartment. Now I'm going on, it's over a week. I picked them up on Tuesday. Today is Friday. So it's a week and 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, a week and 3 days since I picked them up. They're still pretty tiny. And I was going to take them to a friend's. But so far, there hasn't been a need for it. I mean, they're quite capable of keeping them here. There is no odor with them because I'm constantly cleaning out the litter. I'm calling it the litter. It's the sawdust. I packed it on. We'll talk about that in a minute too. But there is no odor with them. Okay, so obviously, like Joel Salatin said, good management, because with no odor, that's letting me know that I am caring for them properly. And I notice that they're all having good bowel movements. No problem there. It all seems to be the same. So they're looking healthy as far as that part goes. Now what I did notice, let's talk about the sawdust and what I did do. When I cleaned the cage the other day, the day after I filled it up with more sawdust. The day after that I filled it up with more sawdust. Well, that didn't work, because what happens is I kept a block in there that I set the water on. Well, the sawdust got up to the point it was covering the block, and what happens? The reason I put the block in there is because they're scratching, and they scratch hard enough that that sawdust goes flying, and it goes flying into their water dish. Now what happens, it gets so much in there that it'll actually soak up all the water, so they can't drink. So that is a no-no. So I noticed that yesterday, that again, because I had put too much sawdust in there, it had got up over top that block, which was making it easy for them to flick it into the water dish. So what I'm doing now is, today I cleaned out the litter again this morning, like a full brood clean out. Now as the day goes on, I'm just going to add a little sawdust, but then I'm going to take it out. So I'm not going to leave that sawdust in there. So there's just going to be a fine layer of sawdust on the bottom, but each day I'm going to add a little bit every day so I can take out the fresh manure. Because remember, this sawdust is an excellent source for your compost, especially with chicken manure in, and I mean, it couldn't get any better. So I'm saving all of this, okay, for the compost. Whose compost yet? I'm not quite sure, because again, living in an apartment, I don't have a compost out back. But I'm saving all of the sawdust and manure in a large garbage bag. So somebody's going to have compost. Somebody I know. And when they do, I'll let them know I've got a great filler for their compost. So that's what I'm doing with that right now. And like I said, with any seed that I've poured out, that I've taken out of the brooder, I have not thrown it away. What I've done, I'm bagging it into another bag. It's got some sawdust in it, but once they go out on the pasture, like to call it that, the backyard, that's when I'm going to throw that extra food out for them. So it'll go on the ground, and they can, continue to eat it, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just got a bunch of sawdust in it. But they'll be able to scratch it around better when they're out on the grass. So that's why I'm saving the seed for there. Okay, now let's talk about their food. I've been giving them a tablespoon of food each yesterday, and that was 3 tablespoons each throughout the day. I gave them one for breakfast, one for lunch, and one for supper. And I've also given them grass to supplement that. And I mean, they just go crazy with this grass. I mean, you can see them. It's just, grass is their favorite food. Okay, they just love it. And I don't even know if it's got any bugs in it. I'm sure it has microscopic bugs in it that, I can't see with the naked eye. And even my 1,000 magnifier camera probably couldn't pick that up. But whatever, they love it, okay? So I give them 3 helpings of grass a day because I know how much they're liking it. Plus, I know how healthy it is for them. I mean, Justin Rhodes, he made that very obvious. And obviously, Joe Salatin, same thing. That's why he keeps his birds moved on grass every day, because he knows the importance of grass in their feed, how healthy it is for them, mainly because the sun is the one that grows that grass with the nutrients underneath it and the little, animals underneath it. But the sun is the most purifier. It makes anything the healthiest. So, I mean, there's no chemicals in this grass. This grass has no fertilizer that anybody's put on it. So it's totally healthy. So they're getting the best, let me tell you. They really are. And they're enjoying it. And, they are having a good little life. But so far, folks, I mean, there's been no issues with raising these 5 chicks in an apartment yet. None that I can think of. They're quiet. They were peeping a bit. Now you can hear they've gone quiet, so they're obviously napping because they know I'm just talking away and, I'm not walking around. I mean, when I get up and leave the room and come back into my office, and they get kind of excited because they know, oh, it's feeding, they figure it's feeding time. Like this morning I come in here, and the minute I opened the door, well, I heard them before I opened the door, and it was early. I woke up, it was around 5:30, and I heard them, and I thought, what are they doing up already? So I got up and I put the kettle on, and they could hear me. By the time I come to that door and opened it, they were just peep, 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 peep. So it was about 6 o'clock when I fed them this morning. I fed them early. Now, I don't want to feed them that early on a regular basis because I won't be feeding them when they're out in the backyard. When I get up and I go to my brother's to feed them, it's going to be like around 7:30. So I don't want them getting used to 6 o'clock. So I'm going to try to keep them closer to 7. But being here in the apartment, they were kind of loud this morning. Well, they're not loud. It's just, it's very quiet at 6 in the morning, and they were beep, 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 beep. And, all I do is turn the TV on and it'd overpower them. But, other people, my husband was sleeping, and I didn't want to bother him, so I didn't. But normally I'm going to feed them around 7:30 is good feeding time. That'll be great for them. And then they'll get a feeding in the morning when they're out in the backyard, and they'll get a feeding at dinner. They won't get a lunch feeding. Right now they're getting a lunch feeding because, again, I'm still trying to figure out how much to feed them. I mean, I got 5 chicks, and, I'm doing the best I can here, but they don't seem to be starving. I mean, last night I fed them supper. They never finished it. They ate it, but there was still some in the bowl. Now, when I got up this morning and come in, to see them, it was gone. So obviously they got up in the night and ate the little bit that was in there, and all the grass was gone. But, I mean, I fed them this morning, and they were killing each other for the food. So, I don't know, but I'll keep adding a little more all the time because, I mean, they are just growing in leaps and bounds. But then again, I don't want to overfeed them either because I know that isn't good. But, I mean, we're doing the best we can do. I'm totally content with what I'm doing here. I really think this is going to work. I can't see why not. Now, as far as, what do you do if you don't have family that you can ask to put them out in their backyard? You've got to have a neighbor. You've got to have a friend, somebody with a backyard. All you got to do is contact them. Tell them what you're doing. Offer them a chicken. And let's face it, folks, again, 2 months from now, we don't know if there's going to be a chicken left on the shelf. We don't know if there's going to be an egg. We don't know if there's going to be any hamburger. We don't know if there's going to be a pork chop. With the way things are right now, we can't be guaranteed anything. So, I mean, this could become a very lucrative idea, okay? Now, I could order another 5 chicks right now, but I'm going to wait, which is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to grow 5 more out because they are so booked at the hatchery right now that if I was to call them a month from now, I might have to wait 2 months to get them. So I don't know. But right now, I just want to grow out these 5 first make sure it works all the way through, and, you know, take it from there. Yeah, that's all I can say right now as far as that goes. But the chicks, they seem to be content. They seem to be happy. No issues with them. I mean, I can't get over how Utility came back. And now he's the biggest. That's just the funniest part of that whole thing. And I thought he was going down for the count. And now he's back with the biggest gloves on. Coming in for round 10. Okay. Well, I guess that's about it today, folks. I just wanted to give you this little update and have a little talk. But, you know, the way things are going, and there's stuff in the news about farmers and them having to dump milk and, you know, get rid of eggs and get rid of pork and the chickens, the things that are happening with these animals on these big farms, it just, oh, it's not good. So I don't know where this is going, but I've got 5 chicks that I'm raising for meat, and they should be ready, you know, first, second week of June. So we'll keep the journey going, and that's all I can say. We're doing the best we can with what we've got here and learning as we go. Okay, folks, well, thanks a lot for dropping by, and if you like what you see, hit subscribe, touch that like button, and ding that bell. And if there's anybody that you know could use this information, that, you know, it could help them in some way, please don't hesitate to share it, okay? Because if I can raise 5 chicks from an apartment, anybody can do it, okay? But thanks again, folks, for stopping by. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.